authors of Christmas. Thank you for joining me. My name is Carla DuPont, also known as the Self-Publishing Queen, also known as Write with Carla. And I am here with one of my hashtag happy clients, Cher Therese.
Hello.
So Cher is not a version to the mic. I guess I shouldn't say that because it's not like we're doing poetry. But she's not a one-time author. We are talking two-time author, Cher Therese.
Three.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
We'll get to that. All right.
Okay.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Cher Therese, author of what I like to call Wanderlust romance. And what I mean by that is, beautiful, perfectly imperfect Black women and the men who will chase them around the world to have them. So
Yes,
most of my books
are
around the world. Yes, ma'am. So most of my books are set in very foreign locations, very ATL Southern heroines that find themselves in awkward positions all over the world. So Bali, we've been to Kenya, next stop, Tulum.
You know what? I think for Tulum, because you said it's in progress, that's your work in progress, we should go and do some research.
Let's do it. Let's go.
I mean,
Let's go. I did already, but I told one of my readers today, I was chatting with somebody who was like, where's the third book? I was like, well, it's slow because it's a lot more research than I anticipated. And so she was like, well, we should go to Tulum. And I'm like, well, I went last year. That's when I started researching. And I don't mind going again. I will go again.
Okay, so this isn't normally how I start, but let's start right there. Let's start with the exotic locales. So I work with you on Bali Blue first. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but you did Mess on the Mara and Bali Blue in the same year.
They released in the same year. Actually, Bali Blue was first released in 2021, and I re-released it in 2022. And then Mess on the Morrow released actually 6 months after that re-release. So it was 2023. Actually, no, January 2023, re-release of Bali Blue, and then May of 2023, release of Mess on the Morrow.
Right. I thought it was Bali Blue was earlier this year because we met at the gas station, y'all.
Yeah. That was you actually helping me get it better.
Oh my goodness, that was so funny. But okay, so we're starting with the exotic locale. So how did you decide to put all of your books in exotic locations?
So it came well, first of all, I love to travel. If you ask me what my passion is, what I do, I would have nothing to tell you other than look for trips to go on, because that's my thing. I love to travel, but I also am in love with the notion of Black love. And I made a promise to myself probably about 20 years ago now that I would go somewhere out of this country every year. And the only time I failed myself on that was during COVID. Of course, because nobody.
But you didn't really fail yourself.
Yeah.
The world failed you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a way that I actually got to put all my passions together. I feel like my strength as a writer is world building and creating like the that kind of immersive experience for my readers. So Black love, travel, and an immersive experience, that's what it's all about. So those are my passions, actually.
Now you talk about immersive experience. Two things jump out to me about Bali Blue. One is the earthquake.
Yes.
I thought the way you set her up, your female main character, to end up in Bali, I was like, wow, that was really clever. Did you get that idea like watching TV, seeing something about an earthquake, or you were just like, how can I get this girl to the other side of the world?
You know what? I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. So this is an exclusive. So I had planned to go to Bali. in
Mhm.
2018. I had already planned my trip, paid for everything, right? I also already knew that an earthquake was going to be the reason why she ended up in Bali, right? And I was literally, there's a scene where she actually is watching news in the book and she
Right.
sees that this earthquake has happened. I literally wrote that from real life experience. Right before my
Mm.
trip, I was watching news and a earthquake actually happened in that area. So
Wow.
the whole scene where she's watching Wolf Blitzer and she sees the baby
Uh-huh.
was an exact image of a little kid that was legit on the news.
And I would say you wrote that scene to perfection, but the whole book was written to perfection. It all really
Oh,
felt, I mean, it just feels like grab a mug of tea, grab a nice furry
yeah,
blanket, lay your butt on the couch in some satin pajamas, and get to page flipping. I mean, it was a really
I
good
love
book.
it.
And to the
Thank
second
you.
point, you're well, I mean, hey, kudos. Like, I'm not a hater by any means. But,
Thank you.
but to the point of it being immersive, the second thing that stood out to me is the her tour guide's accent. The first time he started speaking, I think I holler. I was like, what? But that's what I tell people all the time. When you're writing a book and you're using an
Hmm.
accent or colloquialism, you won't have people in New York and your characters, like characters in New York,
Right.
and they're saying, come on, y'all. Like they don't talk that way up there.
Exactly.
So for you to
Hmm.
not just say, this is what he said, but to actually write it like phonetically the way he said it, Cher, I was in here losing my marbles. Every time that man spoke, I was losing my marbles. It was so funny. And then I also love that you took her to his house to meet his wife and his child. Like that's the immersion part. Like you really got it. You nailed
Yeah.
it. Good.
Yeah.
What made you
First of
want to
all,
go?
Bali is such. Go
Go
ahead. No,
ahead.
go ahead. What's your question?
Oh, I was saying, what made you want to go to
I was
that
just gonna say
depth
Bali
of immersion?
Ooh, because again, going back to my fashion, loving to travel, I just
Mhm.
feel like everyone should have that experience, first of all, right? And first of all, Bali is such a beautiful place on its own. I wouldn't have done it justice without, trying to walk people through what you actually see there, the culture, the people. It's beautiful. I've never seen water that blue in my life, hence the title of the book, Bali Blue.
Mm,
And of course, it had no title until I actually got there and saw this jello blue water. And so I felt like everybody needed to experience that. Not just the love story, but this place. It's a character in and of itself in the book.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So, speaking of love stories, I like to torture my readers.
Yes.
You didn't torture us. There, I mean, of course, there was
Oh boy.
the point of opposition, but you did not torture us. It was a nice love story. Um, but your sex scenes, ma'am, are those based on your real experiences also?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm looking for Kendrick. I'm looking for my own.
I hear that.
I,
What would you say
I'm
was
looking
the
for
most
my own Kendrick. I'm looking for Theo. I'm looking for Kobe.
I hear that. What would you say was the most difficult part of because you say you released it but then you re-released it. What was the most difficult part of that re-release? Because a lot of authors don't get to that point.
Hmm.
They just release a book and once it's done, it's done. So in terms of you doing the
Yeah.
re-release, what was the hardest part?
Um, First of all, I absolutely enjoyed doing that re-release. I thought it would be hard to do, but with your help, of course, it wasn't. I think the most difficult, well, no, I'm not even going to say it was difficult. The thing I learned in that re-release that I didn't know to do with the release of my first book, get the author proofs and literally read it cover to cover, like I'm a reader, rather than the writer, and catch those things that either hit or don't hit. And so some of the sex scenes did not hit that first release. So I got an opportunity to redo them and make them a little more realistic. So
Okay. Well, they definitely hit the mark. What did you take your experience from your, we talked about the sex scene, so I'll start back there, and then hell, I don't even remember what I asked you after that. Oh, yes I do, okay.
Okay.
All right, ready?
All right. Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Okay. All right, a little bit of technical difficulties, we got it all squared away. Praise the Lord. Technology, can't live with it, can't live without it, definitely can't live without it.
Right. Not now.
So in terms of, I think I asked you, your sex scenes, were those based on real life experiences, or is that just writer's creativity?
So a little bit of creativity, probably a little bit of creativity, and probably a little bit of real life, but a whole lot of porno.
I was not expecting. Oh my God, Cher.
Hey, you got to get inspiration from where it comes from. You got to find it where it's at.
I applaud your honesty. I remember in my first novel, one of the first sex scenes, I believe it was the first sex scene, was in an office on the table. When my mom read the book, she's like,
Okay.
that scene on the table. Well, she was like, page 30. I was like, Mom, I don't know the pages. Just tell me what happened. Well, they were in the office on the table. And I was like,
look, wait a minute.
Just knowing my mom read a sex scene she's like, did you just make that up? I was like, no.
I'm loving the fact that they already on the table in the first 30 pages.
Hashtag no judgment.
No judgment.
Okay, so since you did the re-release, what about having written a novel, then re-releasing it, helped to prepare you for your second work?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, a couple of things. First of all, our writers group that J. Nicole started, that has been such a wealth of information for me, like just not even just the writing or the skill part of it, but the marketing, all the things, right? So with that re-release, I had already in mind what I was going to do for marketing, for plugging this book. And I think I missed the mark on that the first time I released it.
Got you.
So I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right. And when you know better, you do better. Who's that?
Absolutely.
Deion Sanders.
Well, yeah.
I applaud you for taking the step to be bold enough to go back through it and re-release and say, hey, this could have been better. I don't think I you put your best foot forward at that time.
At that time, right.
You came and got it back together. How long did it take you to write the first book? And how long did it take you to write the second book?
So the first book I started researching in 2018. I finished it late 2021. That's where I was getting my dates mixed up. I finished it late 2021. Now I wasn't sure I was going to finish that book. I picked it up, put it down so many times. And then finally I was like, I'm going to finish this book. So I picked it back up maybe June of 2021 and finished it and had it published by January of 2022. Yeah.
Okay, good for you. And how long did the second one take?
Yeah, the second book took 6 months to write. And I feel like I write slow, but you know what? If I keep going, the third one, the third one probably gonna take longer than 6 months.
Well, that's just because you're doing research, not because of the writing. Which is why we need to go to Toulouse.
That's right.
Look, my kids go to daddy every other weekend, baby. Listen.
Let's go.
Oh, yes, that feels great. So do you have any advice for aspiring authors? Give them a piece of your mind.
Oh, 100%. Number one, write the book. I don't care what your skill set is. If you have a story, write the story. Don't worry about perfection. Don't worry about it being right the first time. I don't even worry about punctuation and grammar
The
on
first
my
time
first
around.
write. The other thing I would say is make sure that you have a sounding board. I don't necessarily mean a beta readers or ARC readers or even a whole group of people that you work with. Just have a sounding board to toss ideas around with. That helped me tremendously. My sister is an avid reader, and I'm sure she was tired of Bali Blue way before Bali. I'm sure she was tired of Ree and Kendrick in that book, but she was so instrumental in like getting the characters right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you know what? Saying that reminds me of how consistent they were through the book.
Good.
Like
Good.
every time they opened their mouth, it sounded like them.
Yeah.
It was like, who was talking that way? What I could easily envision the characters and keep that same vision. I could see them acting, going through the motions because they
Hmm.
always sounded the same. So yeah, kudos to your sister for that. Go
Well,
take
thank
her out for
you.
shots or something. She
I
deserves it.
sure will. I sure will.
You should have already done that,
Yeah.
Cher.
I have, girl. She done drank probably 4 bottles since that book.
Oh, Lord.
4 bottles of shots. But look, let me also add to that. I think it also made it easier to differentiate between characters because of the different locales, right?
Mm,
So because I knew it was going to be set in Bali, it was easy to write those characters who were in Bali because I knew the accent, right?
mhm,
And I knew nobody else in the book would sound like them. Just like Aunt Titi Ona
mhm.
from Hawaii, she spoke
Oh, man, I
Pidgin.
forgot about
You
TT on.
know, she
Oh,
spoke Pidgin and all of her English was broken, honey. So that was
yes.
a whole nother dialect. And then you got Kendrick and Rion. So yeah.
TT Ona did not play. I could just see her little bitty self. I could just imagine her walking, with one of those long satin dresses. It's
Oh
not
my
tight. It's a little bit loose flowing, but every
God.
time she walks, she gathers it up, like how the old
Okay.
women gather it up around their knee. I could just see her. You did a really great job.
I appreciate that. I
So
really appreciate that.
when do you think book 3 will be out? You said it's taking you a little longer because of the research, but if you had
Mhm.
to put a date on it.
If I had to put a date on it, my date that I want it to be done and about to release is end of April
Okay,
2024. Hmm.
okay, that's we.
Hmm.
How many words do you have?
Written already?
Uh-huh.
It's about 20,000, but it's probably going to be about a 75, 80,000 word book.
How many words were the other two?
The first one was 60,000, I think, right on the nose.
Huh?
And then Miss on the Mara ended up being about 67,000.
Okay, all right. So you
Hmm.
said this is gonna be like 70, 75?
Yeah, it's a whole lot more backstory in this book.
Ah, okay.
Hmm.
Got you
Hmm.
a heavy hitter.
I hope so.
So where can we reach you?
Absolutely. Everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all under or at Share to Race, share_to_race_author. Oh, Pinterest. Same thing on there. I know. Oh,
Mhm.
honey, I create whole mood boards for these books. So if you're interested in getting the mood for Mess on the Mara or Bali Blue, and I'm working on the one for Tempest and Tulum, the third book. So
Oh,
yeah, that's where I get a lot of
Lord.
inspiration. Ooh.
I
Hmm.
might have to steal that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, and it becomes postable content, girl. I mean, like posting on Instagram. Like I will scroll through my Pinterest board and just record the screen and then post it as a reel. I mean,
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
I'm
And
going
then I
to
create
Tim's.
soundtracks for them too. So if you're interested in the soundtrack for Bali Blue, Mess on the Mara, and also Tempest in Tulum, the soundtrack is up for that. Actually click on my link tree on Instagram or TikTok. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm inspired. I'm
Yay.
feeling I'm feeling like because in my Sergeant Knight series, each chapter
Hmm.
begins with like a chorus or a verse of a song and it kind of sets the
Right.
tone for what's going to happen. But I
Hmm.
ever thought to do a soundtrack. Like that is just when my son sends me something on Apple Music or whatever, I'm like, boy, YouTube link. I don't know. Like I don't have any of any of that stuff. I don't know.
Exactly.
He's like, Mama,
And that's what I do.
So that's
put a playlist together and put a cover art on it and make it a playlist for your book. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Cher.
No
Cher, I'm taking that. All right, guys, listen. Cher has 2 books, Mess on the Morrow and Bali Blue. Not in that order. But make sure you grab one or both, preferably both. Snuggle up on the couch with some tea or hot cocoa, a nice furry blanket, and some satin PJs, and dig on into these stories. Cher is a great author, so give her a follow on every platform you frequent and tell her Carla sent you. Thanks, guys, and happy writing.
Thank you. I loved it.